Today, I want to look at how I played So Big, So Small on the original Dear Evan Hansen Broadway cast recording and on the film. To be honest, this is one of my favorite songs in the entire show. At the end of every night, we would get to it, and this is just a bare moment between vocal and guitar. My bandmate Rob Jost used to call it So Fast, So Slow because of how much the tempo changes. But it was a really beautiful dance with Rachel Bay Jones singing it every night. I played a bit of classical guitar in high school and college, and I think that experience of learning how to really phrase and find nuance in every note helped me a lot in being able to play this song that feels so bare and so simple and folksy, but in which the articulation is really, really critical. This is the guitar I played on the cast recording. This is a really special instrument to me. So the basic figure is, of course, played in open position here. These are very familiar chords, but something to focus on is making sure everything rings really clearly and sensitively. I like to make good use of slides in between notes. And I think that helps bring out the folksiness of it. And really finding ways to let it breathe in the push and pull of the tempo. For those sustained tones like that, especially on the A minor 11 that comes up a lot, I like to do a little bit of bending and moving of the guitar neck just to give a little more life to those sustained chords. There's something to pay attention to. So this is the second to third bar of the second verse. There's the little walk down. One way that I connected that is by playing the D on the open D string and then playing the C on the A string. Instead of going, that feels a little bit more disconnected, but on the other hand, when you use the open string, I'm using my index finger and then thumb. That helps you with the whole legato phrasing. There's another thing. Even though in the sheet music it's written as a hammer-on, that's a bit awkward to me, and so I phrased that chord with using the open B string in order to get more legato phrasing. And the house felt so A couple things to talk about in this chorus. First of all, the voicing of this D minor 11 chord. Initially, Alex wanted me to play it like this. And I'll tell you something, I have wrist problems like a lot of musicians, and I did not want to be playing that every night. I didn't really trust myself, one, not to hurt myself, and two, to be able to phrase it cleanly in such an exposed moment. So instead, I voice it with my pinky on the G string for the C, and then pulling off to the open G. This can be a little bit awkward, and this is something that where the classical guitar training helped a lot. We looked at this a little bit in If I Could Tell Her, and this is a good thing to practice to really get your pinky strength up. Not only do you want to be able to pull off that note with your pinky, but you want to be able to do it evenly so none of the notes sticks out. I'd recommend doing that really slowly and really focusing on the clarity and articulation of each note. So one other thing about that moment where you start to get some double stops in the midst of that figure. For whatever reason, I really like the articulation of slightly separating those two notes, as though one is a grace note to the other. It feels a little bit more intimate to me. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Now the walk up to the second verse. Second chorus. So like something to really pay attention to here is making sure all your transitions between chords are really clean and fluid. I wanted the bass notes of each of those arpeggios to feel really full, so I'm phrasing ever so slightly towards the neck. But then at the same time, I wanted the upper structure of the chord to really ring out. And so there's a really subtle movement that's happening in my right hand in order to get a fullness of the lower tones and then an acuteness to the higher tones. Now that last chord, the D add 4 over F sharp, I wanted to put a little special sauce on it. There's this stroke that I find myself using in really poignant moments where it kind of rolls both up and down at the same time. And the way I do that is by first plucking with my thumb and then rolling downward from the top. Gets this nice kind of sparkly texture to it. So then we're in the third verse. In that last section, the kind of tag of the third verse, I'm also paying really careful attention to where my right hand falls laterally with relation to the sound hole in order to get a wide spectrum of tone. I like this part to be really warm, so my middle finger playing the upper part of those chords is a little bit to my left, a little bit towards the neck. But then I want that G to ring out a little more. And same here, warmth on the lower end, acuteness on the upper end. And then this last chord, I'll be here. I like that D to be nice and warm towards the neck. And back for a chorus. Now, something about that A7 chord. The guys really wanted to build in an A7 add 4, but in order to get that, there are two guitar parts, and Dylan Condor on guitar 2 was playing the D, while I was just playing a normal A7 chord. You can kind of get them both if you change the voicing a bit, so when I'm playing this solo, I like to voice it this way. But I think something important there is not to bring out that rub too much. It really comes down dynamically, right? Just a little sparkle of that crunch. And I think a nice thing to pay attention to in this song is that the few times that the figure really does resolve to a G, it usually does not have a third in it. It's usually a G5 chord. There's something really nice about that you're not giving away too much. Even though the tonality of the song is clearly very major, there's Bs all over the place. It's nice to leave a little bit open and unsaid in the resolution. So that is So Big, So Small from Dear Evan Hansen, one of my favorite songs in the entire show to play. I loved getting to play it every night and just see how it moved people in the audience.